Many Americans have Treasury bonds in their 401k accounts, but one financial expert says they may not be as stable as you think. Steve Orr with Orr Financial Group is here to explain why. Welcome, Steve.
How are you today, Bijal?
Good, thank you. So why do you think bonds are risky to own right now?
Well, in a normal environment, if interest rates increase, the value of bonds will decrease. In fact, in a 20-year bond, if you have a 1% increase in interest rates, the value of that 20-year bond drops by $118. Of course, bonds are bought on $1,000 increments.
The big question, though, investors have is just how much are these interest rates going to go up? We're talking about yields on the government bonds, and just how fast are they going to go up?
That's the $64,000 question. If I knew that, I could be king of the world, right? Well, it's hard to say, but investors are taught that they're conservative if they're in bonds. And that's the problem that we have today, is most people are heavily weighted in that area, so they're getting ready to get killed. And of course, there's many things. Bernanke is like this, trying to hold this 800-pound...
Bernanke meaning the Federal Reserve Chief.
Yeah, he's trying to hold down this 800-pound gorilla of increasing interest rates, and it can't last forever. You know, it can be sparked by a number of things. Just the credit rating of the government's poor right now. You see Bill Gross, who manages billions of dollars worth of bonds, has gotten out of the government bond industry, in fact out of bonds altogether, and is actually shorting them. So that kind of gives you an indication. And you can look at history and see how this actually plays out. If you go back to the Carter years, you can see that the same type policies and the same attitudes were in place then, and we had runaway inflation up to 17% or even higher. That's why he's trying to hold them down so hard, but it's going to be out of its control one of these days.
Are you predicting runaway inflation then?
You know, I can't predict anything, but if you look at the odds and what has happened before and what we're seeing today, I think that we're going to see some pretty interesting interest rate increases. It could get as high as it did in the Carter years, if not more. Commodity prices are already doing it.
What exactly then would spark possible runaway inflation if we were to see that?
Well, the credit rating of bonds. You can borrow. People can borrow money from other people as long as their credit rating is good. The governmental credit rating is not that great right now. It might be downgraded, which means we can borrow money from other countries, but we're going to have to give them more return on their investment. Same thing happens to corporations. Once this thing starts and you have a bad economic condition on top of a high unemployment rate, you have a recipe for absolute possible disaster. I say possible because you never know.
Okay, so what should we all be doing? Because the traditional advice for your 401k or any investment strategy is to have 60% allocation in stocks and 40% in bonds, right?
That's what
are you supposed to do?
Well, this thing of asset allocation really doesn't work. You know, they've told us for years and years and years, and they make you fill out this risk tolerance profile, and if you fill this darn thing out, then you're going to have 50-50 bonds and stocks and this, and everything will be just fine if you follow that. Well, let me ask folks, how well did that work for you? So you can tell that doesn't really work very well.
Okay, so what would you do then personally? What are you doing right now?
Right now I'm going into very specific areas in the stock market, in the commodity markets, in the precious metals, in the oil and gas. Those kind of areas I think are going to do well, and then I'm going to stick with a lot of cash if I see things start to go bad. This old adage that we have of just stay in there, you're a long-term investor, that's not going to work, and it hasn't worked before. But we keep getting taught these crazy things that we keep doing them over and over and getting the same results. Folks, you got to change what you're doing. You've just got to do it differently.
So heavier weights on commodities-based stocks.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your advice. We appreciate it. Steve Orr with Orr Financial Group.